You like your music fast and heavy, and you feel physically and mentally ill when you listen to Mariah Carey. I'm quite partial to that Mariah. You dress in black to reflect the darkness within, so Christmas lights aren't really doing it for you. You're not religious, so why would you celebrate a Christian holiday? You look at it as capitalness, where families are in debt trying to keep their kids happy, whereas other families are swarming the supermarkets, all the while feeding the consumer-driven neoliberal nightmare that keeps ball-clamping vultures fat and healthy while choking the rivers with slime. Pretty good metal lyric, though. So there's nothing in this holiday for you, right? Wrong. I'm here to tell you that Christmas is actually metal as f***.
What is or isn't metal is subject to the viewer. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, you most likely know the origins of Santa Claus, dating back to a saint in what's now modern day Turkey called St. Nicholas, who gave gifts to children. Legends grew that he could do miraculous things, like resurrecting kids that a butcher pickled during a famine, calming storms, yada yada. Basically the Christian Gandalf. When popularity in St. Nick dwindled, somehow or another, he remained very culturally popular in the Netherlands, becoming Sinterklaas, Saint Nick Klaas, the Christmas gift giver, who had and still has a controversial assistant. Dutch settlers took him to America, and by hook or by crook, eventually, by the Victorian era, he became known as Santa Claus and was basically widely popularised by Coca-Cola in the 30s. The truth is, the American model of Christmas that we all know has only really been about, with all the connotations in which we associate and apply to it, for really the last 200 years. Being a holiday, worshipping kids, decorating your Christmas tree, giving gifts, and even Santa Claus himself, Sinterklaas didn't have a magic sleigh, has little for roots in Christianity at all. Indeed, something much more metal. First, we're going to dive into the deep, dark, Germanic world of thick forests teeming with monsters, magic, and witches, and all manners of other things that can snatch you up in the night, way before Christianity had its claws in there. And that includes zombies, or Draugr, they were once called, and yes, zombies seen substantial activity at this time of year, what we call Christmas. Christmas zombies. Here, the winter celebrations were called Yule, or Yuletide, when people huddled inside around the fires, safe, as the wild hunt loomed overhead. The hunt was conducted by the Yule Father, otherwise known as literally the most metal god ever in existence, Odin, or Yulnir, as he was also called, and he flew through the sky on his 8-legged flying horse, Sleipnir. He led a spectral procession of beasts, gods, ghosts through the winter sky, deciding who would live and who would die. I mean, that's bound to be the front cover of at least a few brutal metal records. I mean, come on. In order to appease Odin, a massive feast was had in a temple in which they had a sacrifice and everyone bathed themselves in the blood. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. They drank together and toasted their friends and family who had sadly died to alleviate the dread of the season and the bitter cold, much the same as we do now. The Yule log would burn for around 12 days, and you bet you the festivities would rage that entire time. Evergreen trees were cut down and put in their homes as decoration to remind them of the warmer months, and also to honour and coax the sun god to maybe bring back the sun and to ward away the ghouls and revenants and all manner of dark creatures outside. Children would put vegetables in their stockings for the Yule Father when he came back from the hunt, hungrily. People would gift each other things that were useful at the time. Odin, much like the Santa today, was actually known as a gift giver himself, and kids found a little something in their boot every year. And get this, Odin was actually pre-St. Nicholas. Just saying, you know, the idea of a magical gift-giving wizard didn't exactly just disappear. So where did Santa's magic sleigh come from? Well, another tradition that originated from the time was the Yule goat. This was the last sheaf of wheat from the harvest, much like the old British tradition of crying neck, but that's another video. The last sheaf of the harvest was considered magical and lucky, and they tied it in the shape of a goat. And why was that? Because Thor, Odin's son, had a magical flying chariot what was pulled by two big goats. And as we know, goats are the most metal animal on the planet. Get this, Jesus's actual birthday wasn't the 25th. In fact, they never actually recorded his birth in the Bible. If anything, it should have really been in the spring. At the time, Easter was really the only significant Christian holiday, and newsflash, that was appropriated from an old British festival dedicated to a fertility goddess called Easter. This could be another video completely, if we're going to do that thing now, but the 25th of December was already a pre-Christian ancient Roman celebration of a sun god, most likely Mithra or Mithras. You start to see the connection with sun gods here. So whether for convenience or complete religious dominance, which, to be fair, they confirmed the nativity on that day alongside the other celebrations, and in doing so they were able to, in a very swift, cunning life hack, slide in a oven-ready holiday, but the side effects were they didn't really have much say over how it was celebrated. And in Rome, the winter days prior to the 25th were celebrated in a big way. From the 17th to the 23rd was the festival of Saturnalia, or the festival of Misrule, a colourful, wild carnival in honour of Saturn, the god of agriculture and liberation. Masters would become slaves and slaves would become masters. They decorated their house with wreaths, gambling was allowed, they divulged in great feasts, drank copious amounts of hot wine, dancing and music ensued. All men were equal in society and could join in the fun, and the Lord of Misrule was crowned. The Lord of Misrule was bound to be a metal band. Someone of low status normally, who would preside over the frivolous chaos, giving orders to fuel the massive party with mischief. All that good Christmas stuff. Oh yeah, did I mention that Saturnalia was the time to give gifts? Especially to children. Yeah, so in case you missed it, I said Saturn, not Jesus. This was, once again, before Jesus, but ended up being vacuumed into the Christian holiday as ancient Rome and the rest of Europe was gradually Christianised. So Christmas in past times was much more of a wild, raucous, carnivalesque affair, so much so that Oliver Cromwell, you're a mean one. No wonder the Christmas lights in Waza are notoriously shy. Completely outlawed Christmas in the 1600s when he took over. And get this, because it was so un-Christian. Yeah, Cromwell wasn't really a fan of that diabolical revelry. Christmas to Cromwell was like a cradle of filth, and he was a bit more of a take that guy. Cromwell would of course go on to become significantly more metal as his decapitated head was enjoyed publicly, stuck on the end of a 20-foot pole at the top of Westminster Hall, which actually got struck down by lightning at some point. True story. He could ban it and fine people as much as he wanted, but he could not stop people celebrating it secretly in their homes with their family. This was when Christmas became a lot more like how it's enjoyed today, and I guess why it's also not a week-long carnival anymore. So yeah, thanks Cromwell. Wanker.
Asshole.
But yeah, so as we've established, the big spend corporate holiday is actually pretty recent. Having a day though, where we give gifts and decorate our homes to reflect the holidays, get merry. Might not seem like it, but it's actually metal as fuck. The Romans did it, the Vikings did it, the Celts did it, the Egyptians did it. Basically every pre-Christian pagan culture did it in their own way. It's a pretty harsh season, so you can do it too. I mean, come on, you're pretty much denying yourself it because you don't like the way that it's been hijacked. So here's a punk rock thing to do. Enjoy it in your own way.
I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
So looking around the mainstream Christmas, what can we find in the holiday that is still pretty metal? A whole bunch of winter devils, giants and goblins. That's what. Who are still here from the glory days of when Christmas was a heavier holiday. Starting with, of course, the Krampus, who in several regions across Europe has evolved from a pre-Christian witch god into one of St. Nick's accomplices, and delights in his role of punishing the bad children, in contrast to St. Nicholas, who rewards the good. Differing from place to place, he might bring you a birch branch or a piece of coal if you're bad, whereas in other places, he might just scoop you up into his sack, take you away, and you'll never be seen again. So you better be good. A few more. Grilla, the giantess in Iceland who actually eats naughty children, and her 12 sons, the Yule lads, who wreak havoc and mischief. And actually might be good enough to leave a little something in shoes. That could be a potato, or a tatty, as we say in Scotland. They also have a big, vicious Yule cat who eats kids that don't have new clothes, which is pretty awful. The Karankunkolos in southeast Europe, or the Kalikantsarai in Greece. Hairy goblins living underground who spend all year sawing the Tree of Life, but when it comes to the 12 days of Christmas, they're allowed to come on overground, and in that time the tree heals, so when they go back down they've got to start all over again for the previous year, and the cycle repeats itself. Italy's gift giver, La Befana, is literally an old woman riding a broomstick. I mean, they don't call her a witch, but even the Yule goat that we mentioned earlier that was based on Thor's goats kind of evolved into a Christmas giver itself, some kind of goat man. So there's just a few. So if you live in Britain, like me, you might think, well that's all good and well, there's still lots of metal Christmas traditions in Europe, but there's none here. Wrong! Again, from the Middle Ages we've had a tradition called wassailing. This was when the poorer in society went door to door and sang Yule songs to basically demand food and drink. A tradition that grew out of that was the use of hooded hobby horses in various regions across Britain. One of which, that was born in the Victorian era, was the Welsh Mary Lwyd, which was a decorated horse skull on a stick, while the entourage was a host of characters like Punch and Judy. And they would go around door to door with the horse, and they would do makeshift plays, and they would sing, and basically turned into this interesting game where, unless the homeowner was able to out-sing them, they basically get to come in and drink and eat whatever they wanted. Think like a pantomime. We're coming in! Oh, no you're not! Oh, yes we are! Anyway, last time I checked, a horse skull was pretty fucking metal. Mary Lwyd is still performed beautifully in the UK today, by the way. As well as wassailing in small pockets. We even have a Krampus running in Whitby now, and the Krampus has never even really been a thing here. I do like carols though. I especially love a Christmas carol. I mean, come on. So there you go. There's something in Christmas for everyone. Even you. Moshe! I personally still am quite happy to say Happy or Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas, Harry. Happy Christmas, Ron.
But you could say Yuletide blessings, Happy Winter Solstice, or, if you want to be really metal, have a good holiday whatever you get up to, and be compassionate to others. So how did it do? I hope you learned something and maybe look at Christmas a different way, because you don't have to celebrate it the same way as everyone else.
People like Coldplay and voted for the Nazis. You can't trust people, Jeremy.
Just saying, it's a great time to support independent. If you like this, rate and subscribe and all that good stuff. Maybe we can do this now. Maybe I can make some videos. I mean, I should probably start using YouTube. I've not really paid attention to it. More info soon on what we meaning Boss Mags, are working on. I think you're gonna like it. We're 5 years old next year. 5 years. Half a decade. Have a lovely Christmas, Yuletide, solstice blessings, happy holidays, and whatever you want. Peace out, goths and ghouls.